Welcome back to the morning show on Sports Radio 99 The Game on this Monday. Hard to believe, you can wrap your brain around it, Hugh Douglas, that college basketball is knocking on the door, so much so that we have teams that are starting their preseason games already. We have an exhibition game coming up at McCamish on Saturday.
Yeah, man.
Between Georgia Tech and Florida Tech.
Yep.
And the head coach of the Jackets, Josh Pastner, joining us in the studio this morning. How you doing, Coach?
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for having me back. We were just saying off the air how this basketball now just becomes year-round. I mean, it's just, even when the season's done, you're just right into recruiting. And then for the NBA, some of the best basketball is in the offseason with all the trades and the free agency. So Summer leagues. I mean, it's a year-round deal for the sport of basketball. There's no doubt about that.
So going into your third season, Coach, what has changed for you and how has your team evolved to this point?
Yep, absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to this year. You know, when I took over, and we've talked about it many times on the rebuild, trying to get it back to where we want to get it back to. We're all Georgia Tech fans, want the program to be back. You know, the biggest thing I have said in studying the league is we have to get old and stay old. We've got to get old and stay old. Right now, we have gone after some great recruits, but maybe those one and done, that elite stud, that highly ranked guy hasn't just pulled the trigger on us just yet. So a lot of those guys are going to Duke and North Carolina or Kentucky, schools like that, you know, Syracuse. Well, so for us in the ACC, the best way for us to counterattack those type of teams is to get old, because a 22-year-old is going to be better than an 18-year-old freshman coming into college, just on the maturation basis. That doesn't mean that the 18-year-old isn't going to be a better NBA player, or that the 18-year-old could be a top 5 pick in the following draft. But us getting to when you have 22 and 23-year-old guys, juniors and seniors, that is the model that we've got to build to get to in order to really move the needle. And in this league, everyone is so good. And we're not, no one's moving down. There is no slippage. So we've got to, just climb the ladder. And the best way to do that is to get old. And really for us to get old, I call this year as kind of the bridge year. I thought we had a chance to be really good. Losing Josh Okogie hurts us. It's great for the program, great for Georgia Tech, great for Josh. He's a first-round draft pick by the Timberwolves in last draft. He's starting for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that hurts us. So we've got to find different ways to score. But if you really look, this entire core or nucleus of our group, we really have that same group for year 4 and 5 as well, too. And so we had a chance to really, I call it the bridge year. You're really building and continuing to build. And then when you get to year 4 and 5, you're full of juniors and seniors. And then from there, you got a chance to really move the needle. And so this is a brand new team, basically, because we've lost some guys. We're looking forward to it. I think it's going to be an exciting time. And we're still on the build, and we're still, building it back up. But there's nothing like ACC basketball, as you guys know.
Coach, I'm always curious, because how different is your coaching style from your first year to now? Because you don't have to implement some of the same things you had to do in that first year, correct?
Correct. I mean, it's different. People they understand the system, and that's what happens when you get old and and you're getting old and staying old. Is that you don't have to reteach things from the very beginning. The culture is already in place. The upperclassmen can teach the underclassmen. Guys know where they need to be, what needs to happen, all those things that go with that. It just flows right into it. And so that's the idea. The other thing that we've got to be better at, and I've talked to our staff about this, and we've locked in on this with recruiting, for us and as fans and everybody wants to see, you got to score the ball. You got to be able to put the ball in the basket. I mean, I don't care how great you are defensively. And everyone talks about Virginia's defensive, how good they are defensively, which they are. But they got a high-octane offense. They got guys that can shoot the ball. We've been dead last in three-point shooting the last 2 years. I do believe this will be our best three-point shooting team. And so our focus in recruiting, everything else, we've got to be able to shoot the ball. We've got to find guys that can put the ball in the basket. And the best way to do that is through recruiting. And so We've attacked some of those needs, but that will be the continuation through recruiting, is making sure we get guys that can put the ball in the basket.
We're talking with Josh Pastner, head coach of Georgia Tech. Well, if there's one position where Georgia Tech has excelled over the last, since the arrival of Bobby Cremins, almost 40 years ago, seems, is Ben point guard. I mean, the Kenny Andersons. I mean, we go down the list. Stephon Marbury started with Mark Price.
Used to be
Price.
point guard you.
Yeah, Jared Jack. Point guard you. And now you've got another pretty good one.
Yeah. Well, we've got the kid Jose Alvarado, who will be a sophomore this year, and then the kid we signed from last year from Orlando, Florida, Michael DeVoe, who's really good. Those two guys, and look, in basketball, and especially in college basketball, you're going to win with guard play. I mean, you've been around it. You've seen it. I mean, you win with great guards. I really believe Jose Alvarado, when he's a junior, and Michael DeVoe's a sophomore, yes, that's the following year. I do believe those two will be two of the top three in the best backcourt in the ACC. And then when Jose's a senior and Michael's a junior, I think those two could be the best guards or the best backcourt in the ACC. This year, there will be freshman and sophomore together, so there's going to be some highs and lows, some growing pains, but those two guys can really play. Now, Michael DeVoe's been out for a few weeks because of a toe injury, but he should be back in time for our first game when we played Lamar on November 9th. First countable game.
Talking with Josh Pastner. Let's expand this conversation out. Head coach Georgia Tech. Talk a little bit about, let's begin with the ACC and we could talk nationally. I think if my math was right, 7 ACC teams ranked in the top 25 in the preseason poll. I mean, you have Duke and you have Virginia, you mentioned North Carolina, but the league is deep. I mean, Florida State's going to be good. Syracuse, Clemson, it goes on and on. Virginia Tech's going to have a good team. I mean, a lot of ranked teams, tremendously difficult league. And again, the ACC rises and shines to where I think probably number one league in America. How difficult does that make it for you?
Well, you know what's amazing? The funny thing is when I got the job at Georgia Tech, everyone would tell me, hey, this is a great time to get in the league. Krzyzewski, Roy Williams, they're all leaving the league here any day now. These guys are recruiting at even a better than they've ever recruited before. And you're right, the league is so powerful. You mentioned 7 teams in the top 25. I mean, Florida State has their entire team back. They didn't lose anybody. Their entire team back. They went to the Elite Eight last year. They're picked 8th place. They're picked 8th place in the ACC.
Wow.
I mean, that's how deep the league is. It's crazy. And they got the entire team back. Anywhere else, you're picked number 1 team in the league. You'd pick to win the league. Here, you're picked 8th. 7th or 8th place is crazy, but and that's what makes the league great is because you have so many opportunities. And if you look at our non-conference schedule, we play a total of 11 teams out of the top 25. So we're going to get tested early and often. We'll know a lot about ourselves. We'll you know how it is as an athlete. You want to compete against the very best, and I tell us guys in recruiting, don't come. Like if you're worried about who's in front of you, hey, you shouldn't come here because the teams that we're playing, like you got to want to compete against the very best. And if you have any gray area about not competing against the best, don't come because this is not for everybody. Because you will get exposed night in, night out if you are not ready to play every time you step on the floor.
And I was just about to ask you that, Coach, because how does that affect your recruiting when you go into these kids' homes and you tell them, like, listen, in the ACC, we got some dogs in the ACC. So how does that affect the way that you go into their homes and recruit?
And we talk about the ACC is not for everybody because you will get punched in the mouth, and if you get punched in the mouth and you just get over there in the corner and get in a fetal position, you can't play. So you've got to be able that. You've got to have that mentality when we're standing there for the national anthem, and you're looking across, and there's all these guys, and you're sweating, you're ready to go right at their jugular vein. That type of mentality, like you get punched, you're ready to punch back in a sense, and so that's why it's not for everybody. And because of the competition, because of the league, is what makes it great. The competitive fire. We talk about just that competitive excellence. You've got to have it because you will get knocked. If you do have a tough game, you can't sit in a fetal position. You got to get back up and find a way to and find a way to get W's.
Coach, without naming names, have you went into somebody's home and you've had that conversation and you've kind of seen in their eyes that what? Maybe this was a bad idea making this trip?
What? During recruiting is such an inexact science. And it is fascinating. Think about it. You're dealing with 17-year-old kids. I mean, it's fascinating. But you can tell now when kids start making excuses about, this is my favorite one. I want to be a pro. I want to be a pro. I want to, Coach, can I get to be a pro? And then the next sentence, but you have a lot of guys on your roster at this spot. I'm like, stop. How can you tell me you want to be a pro, but you're worried about guys
who's in front of you?
Let me call every NBA team and tell them, hey, this guy wants. But if you have any good players on your roster, don't pick him because he only wants to go somewhere where there's just an easy
like he could just walk on the court.
I said
and
so.
Just
Don't.
play.
I said don't say you want to be a pro if you're worried about guys in front of you. You can't say that because if you truly want to be a pro, you've got to play against the best. And it's the same thing. So when guys start asking questions or they start worrying about different things, I'm like, this guy's just not cut out for it, man.
So you just cut the conversation. You know what?
I tell our staff sometimes, I'm like, he's a 2x4. I'm like, what's a 2? I said, he'll win you 2 and lose you 4. You know what I mean?
There you go.
We don't want 2x4. So it's the evaluation part and making sure that we do a great job on that. And by the way, I want to make sure if anyone out there, because the season tickets are on sale, but also we have ACC packages where you can get tickets, just even if you just want to come to the ACC games. Even if you don't want to root for Georgia Tech, come to see great basketball.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to get Duke.
I mean, it's North Carolina, Syracuse, Louisville. I could just go on and on. But you can email me. Just email me, J Pastner, J-P-A-S-T.
You've been pretty good about those tickets, Coach. Look at you.
J-P-A-S-T-N-E-R at gatech.edu. T-E-C-H, gatech.edu. J Pastner at gatech.edu.
Coach throws his email out there. How about that?
Yeah, look at
all
him.
the time. Yeah, and I respond to everybody, by the way, too.
All right, there you go. We're going to talk some more with Coach, see what he thinks about the national picture and who really is the favorite in the ACC. Mentioned Virginia. What about this incredible class that Duke has? Roy Williams got a team. Florida State's got everybody back. Who's the team to beat? Is there one, or is it the entire league? Next, as we continue on the morning show with John and Hugh on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. Morning show on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game from the Kia Studios. College basketball and knocking on the door this Saturday afternoon, evening, Coach. Florida Tech game.
We play Florida Tech at 6 o'clock. Florida Tech is an engineering school, by the way, too. So that was part of the game. You know, obviously Georgia Tech's known for an engineering. So
bunch of smart guys out there.
There you go. I've always told
3.999.
You know what I tell our guys all the time when they forget a play? How do you forget a play? Like I see your class schedule. You're in business calculus. You're in like
doing that hard.
You're doing all these things, and how do you forget a play? I can't understand that. You know,
smart kids out there that are going to be running the Fortune 500 companies one day.
We mentioned with Coach that 7 teams ranked in the ACC in the AP Top 25 preseason poll. Now, you don't vote in the Coaches Poll, correct?
I do not. I probably it's better that you. I mean, because those things become public, you know.
Right?
It becomes,
no, they are right.
That's no fun. Yeah, because then coaches get mad at you if you're not voting for. You know how that stuff goes. Yeah. So you're better off.
So you just stay out of all that.
Yeah.
We're talking with Coach Pastner. This hour of the program brought to you by Renter's Warehouse. So let's talk about it. Kansas #1, and by a good margin, which surprised me because given what you have at Duke with Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish, and I mean that whole class comes into Duke as one of the best classes ever. Kentucky is loaded again.
Yep.
You mentioned Virginia's loaded. Is there a team that you think is the team to beat this year nationally?
Yeah, you know, I tell you what. First of all, Duke is loaded. I mean, they might have the number 1, 2, and 3 draft picks in the next year's, in the 19 draft. They are freshmen though, but they are loaded. I mean, they've got 3 legit guys who are going to be 3 of the top 5 picks in next year's draft. So they're really good. The team, I would tell you that, I still think they're loaded, and they just got the kid eligible who's really good from Alabama, is Virginia. I mean, they lost 2 kids, two seniors, but they got their core back. They just got a kid eligible in Braxton Key, and I just think they're really, really good. And I think they're a team that is you have to play a game that's near perfection because they just don't beat themselves. Other teams you can play because they're so athletic and play so fast that you can. There's holes to go against them. But in a team like a Virginia, I just think they're going to be the favorite. I think they're the most dangerous team still in the ACC. They're really, really good, and I think they got the kid eligible. So, but the league is just so good. The league is so good, but on a national level. Obviously, Kansas is loaded. You're talking about them being preseason number 1. There's some other teams out there, but I don't know how many more teams collectively of talent, pros on talent, and this includes Kentucky, has more pro talent than Duke does.
Coach, when you look at this season as far as the style of play, are you going to try to have the same style of play? Or are you going to play a little bit more aggressive?
No, we want to play a little faster. In the past, we had waited for Ben Lammers.
Mm-hmm.
I was always waiting for him. He was our center. He was a little bit of a slower, I call him a little bit of a plotter.
Mm-hmm.
But he was so good at the high post, and we always played through him, so we had to wait for him. Now that he's had graduated, we're able to play faster because we don't have that. Now, there were so many good things that Ben did, both blocking shots and passing the ball and doing all those good things. But, we had to wait for him. So now without him, We lose a lot of those areas, but we can play faster, more up tempo with more pace, which we need to do, especially with our offense and the cutting. We always talk about cutting. I think that's really hard to guard in college basketball. The more you can cut at a high speed.
We're talking with Josh Pastner, head coach of Georgia Tech, as they get ready for their exhibition game, 6 o'clock Saturday night at McCamish against Florida Tech. Just looking around the area, Ron Hunter's done a wonderful job in getting Georgia State, into the NCAA tournament on multiple occasions. Now Georgia has a new head coach. Tom Crean took Marquette to the Final Four with Dwayne Wade, took Indiana to, I think, 3 or 4 Big Ten championships with all the talent that he had at IU. Now he's at Georgia. What kind of a Georgia and Georgia Tech? What kind of does that present for you?
You know what? First of all, Coach Crean is going to do a great job at Georgia. He's a very, very good coach. I mean, his record speaks for itself. And it's interesting. People have asked me about the Georgia Tech, and of course, when you're competing against them on the floor, you want to win, and I know how important that is to the Georgia Tech fan base. But it's interesting in recruiting. There's not a lot of times you're always butting heads with Georgia because it's just the facts are, we're going after different kids because kids that we're going after immediately, they've got to have a certain interest academically. Because at Georgia Tech, there's only bachelors of sciences. It's an engineering school. It's math and it's science and technology. And so if you're not into some of those areas,
then that's a bad look.
So it's a good thing because you filter out a lot of things, but it's a bad thing that your pool is very, very small. So so for us, we're constantly scouring not only domestically but globally to find the guys who, one, are good enough to play in the ACC, but two, who can handle the academic compartment. Look, we had a kid that really liked us. That was from the West Coast, and he wanted to play in the ACC. But he wanted his degree. He was a really smart young man, but he wanted to do something in the arts, in the liberal arts. We just did not have that degree for him, and he ended up choosing somewhere else. And so we have to be really smart and efficient. So yes, we are going to go, do all we can to beat Georgia when we play them on the road. But it's interesting, we're not always competing against them in the recruiting base just because we've got to make sure we get the right kid to fit us. And now we've gone after some high-level guys. And as I said earlier, we need someone to pull the trigger because we've got to continue to increase our talent. Recruiting is an everyday, all-the-day type of thing, and we're after it. But I think Coach Crean's going to do great at Georgia, and it's going to be really competitive, and we're excited. I think we play him December 21st or the 22nd here at home. And but again, Jay Pastner at gatech.edu. If you want tickets, Jay Pastner, you got to buy them, but I'll get you set up to buy them, okay? Jay Pastner.
Did not give it away.
At gatech.edu.
I can see that inbox fill it up right now.
Yeah.
Coach, when do you find time to relax and just get away from basketball? Because you seem like you in basketball mode 24/7.
I'm a terrible relaxer, and I'm not good at relaxing. It's interesting. Even during recruiting, and as you've evolved as a head coach, this is going to my 10th year. You really know what's important, what's aligned to you. And guys, I use the word motor. Uh-huh. People that have motors, I'm just really aligned to. Kind of have that extra pep in their step, and that really includes even the players. And so I'm constantly talking and trying to evaluate guys with the right motors, and to make sure that they fit. And because I'm all about energy. Everything's about energy to me. Positive energy, giving, being an energy giver, not an energy taker. And we're constantly talking about that all the time.
All right. The first exhibition game is Saturday evening at 6 p.m., Georgia Tech, Florida Tech. And then the following Friday on November 9, Lamar, University of Texas, will be the opening game at McCamish Pavilion, 7:30 tip against the Jackets.
Gentlemen, thank you for allowing me. I do not take this for granted that you give me 2 segments to come on and promote the program. So thank you both for doing that. I know you don't have to do that, so thank you.
We want you to, Coach. We want you to.
Thank you, guys.
Great success.
Really appreciate you guys very much.
Thanks,
Coach.
Go Jackets here.